operating on a shoot. I mean, I'm just saying it might be other technology or another, glitch. Things happen. So anyway, we're live. We can keep going.
There's not a short between the seat and the keyboard.
Shh, keep it quiet.
Well, this is starting out with laughter is really important because I think that's definitely one of the ways to be a better lover. So today we're going to talk about how to be a better lover. So if you've wanted to be one or you'd like somebody in your life to be one, Barry and I are going to talk about that in depth today, in grand detail.
Yes.
This is the newsstreamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast. #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
So certainly, I will speak for the ladies. We like having someone be a good lover to us mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And we generally like it to start way ahead of time before we get naked and get in bed together. That's just from the ladies' point of view.
Something I learned a long time ago, I think somebody told me this, and I think it was a teacher, somebody said this, and it sticks, is that basically foreplay starts way before the bedroom.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and just let's put this on the table now and get out of the way, because one of these blunt things I'm going to say is that men think oftentimes, and this is a generality, of course, so some men can take offense at this, but some men think foreplay is being naked. Whereas most women know, and a lot of men know this too, is that foreplay is everything that is tantalizing and titillating and exciting. It could just be the words you say to each other 4 days prior. So this conversation is not just about, knocking boots in bed. In fact, there's a lot more to it than that. So we should explore and explain.
And it's not that we won't talk about the knocking boots in bed part today as well.
True.
We will talk about certainly how it can be even better when you get to that point if you've done some preparation ahead of time. So one of the catchphrases is that often, in another generalization, is that men sexually are kind of microwaves and women generally are kind of slow cookers. That you can be ready in an instant, that burbling back in your mind, you do think about sex, especially if you see somebody pretty, especially if you're talking to somebody that you would like to get naked with. It's very active in your brain. So yeah, you're having a chemical reaction and you're getting excited. And even if we're having those feelings generally as women, we warm up to it slower. We want to feel like you care about us. We want to feel like you see us. We want to feel like you're listening to us, that you think we're important, that you value us as a person with our clothes on as well as without our clothes. And so learning how to do that, if you don't as a man, is very valuable because we're way more fun naked if you do this ahead of time, huh? Look at you nodding. Yeah, because you already know all this. You wrote a book about it, for heaven's sake. But we're going to educate people.
Well, one of the key points I want to say is, and we talked about this in before in other shows, about one of the biggest things that what women need from a man is to feel safe. And if she doesn't feel safe with him, it's going to make sex much more challenging because she won't feel as comfortable, easygoing, joyful, willing, all that sort of thing. So as simple as it sounds and as blatant as I'm saying this, making it feel safe for her to be free to be herself is one of the biggest gifts you can give her and one of the biggest benefits you get from her by allowing her to do that. So serving her that way is one of the key qualities as well.
And for us to feel like we can receive you, receive how you talk, receive how we feel about you, receive how your energy is when we just touch you across the table, sets us up to be able to receive you physically, because generally you're putting something, a few things, variety inside of us. And if we are feeling already receptive and safe and open emotionally, mentally, it will help us feel physically open. Our enjoyment level goes up. Absolutely helps us feel that way. So spending the time is very helpful for us.
So to push the point a little bit further along the road, so to speak, one of those things for men is to make sure she trusts you. And that could be as simple, and it's going to sound silly, it can sound as simple as showing up on time. One of the biggest things I do, and I took this a lot in my work as a fundamental skill for relationships on all levels, is one of the biggest skills we can do is keep our agreements. Because when we keep our agreements, we become trustworthy. and we're trustworthy. First of all, we trust ourselves, but then other people trust us as well. And in relationship and in sex as well, that's a massive piece of the puzzle. So to keep your agreements, and that also means, to sidebar, that you don't keep making agreements just to make agreements. You make agreements you want to keep, and that's where you stand. So you'd say no to things as well as saying yes to things. But if she knows that you keep your word, she'll trust you more. And that again creates more safety, that she'll then want to play with you more.
It's so true, because one of the things that we women know and then often say out loud is that we're watching to see if your words match your actions. So we want to hear you say, okay, I'll pick you up at this time, or I'll call you at this time, or this is what's happened in my past. And when you learn more about it, it's the truth. And then when you do call on time or show up on time, or say, gosh, something came up, I can't, I'm going to need to move it to this time, or I'm running late. The mild annoyance is very mild, that, oh gosh, we're disappointed that we can't have what you said. And yet you've said, I still really want to see you or talk to you. And it's going to just be a little delayed. And yeah, we appreciate an explanation, but if you can't even explain, it's okay. Just say, I have to rearrange my agreement to you. So huge to us, because we will add them up, boy, if you don't.
That's actually one of the four components to talk about with agreements is renegotiation, because the other thing is also life happens, you know. And this is the other part too, is if the man cannot keep the agreement he made with his woman, to say to us, like, I need to rearrange it, this is a schedule, it's changed. Obviously not every single time it happens, but when it happens, to simply state, like, can we reschedule? You know, the rain check idea, but with a real intentional date change, can be actually kind of sexy, because it prolongs the excitement, it prolongs the possibility. So sometimes having to renegotiate can be a good thing for the eventual enjoyment in bed.
More positive than negative, for sure.
Yes.
So the other thing we need you to pay attention to is, now that you're saying your words and you're going to keep your agreement with your words, is be really careful with your words that say what you mean. Now, the caveat to that is, we don't always believe you, because we don't always tell the whole truth, because we were taught as kids to kind of talk around hard subjects and not be quite as direct as you men are on your own. So then you need to be really careful what you say. So you say, this is what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it. And the other thing that we really like, and I suggest women do too, say, how's that work for you? Does that work for you? Because we like being included in the conversation. We like being included in the agreement a lot. And I know you guys like making plans and just having them happen, but we really like when you include us very much.
This is the fun part, because there's a certain level of joy of being surprised by doing things that she doesn't know about, like, you know, getting roses for her, something like that. Obviously, wonderful romantic gestures. But when you do make plans that include her so that she can enjoy the ride as well, especially if you've taken care of the details, so all she has to do is participate rather than organize, that can work wonders in terms of the warmth with which you'll be received.
So bringing up the roses part, because this is something that could carry into bed, is, does she like surprises, and what kind? So I very much like surprises, and I have very specific things I like that are surprises, and I have certainly things that I don't like as surprises. So to ask, because we don't always know to tell you, I teach women to please keep talking about who you are, but ask, do you like surprises? What kind? What, have you ever had something you didn't like? Because you don't want to go put your foot in it, because the last 3 women like that and this one doesn't like it at all.
Yes, do your research, so to speak. Yeah,
on this particular person, for sure.
Yeah, and by the way, this is something that I remember. This is something I learned from John Gray years ago, talking about roses, just on the theme of roses again. So, you know, fellas, you're talking about when you are wanting to buy roses for your woman. Here's one of the biggest secrets that maybe you don't know about, is that buying her a dozen roses may sound wonderful and romantic, but the thing is, that's one gesture, one point, so to speak, in the sport. This is something, and it sounds so ridiculous, but it's so profound. Is if you buy her a single rose, or if you buy a dozen roses and you give her one every single day for 12 days, that's 12 points. So if you want to increase your score, so to speak, with her, to be good books, to really make her feel happy and feel more joyful and receptive, you can do a lot and do the same thing differently and get a different result. So, and this is not something I've thought about before. But when I heard from John Gray, I was like, this is so simple, but it's so powerful.
Yeah. Well, you know, I worked with him 2 whole years, so I know that very much. And I love telling men that. That's such a good point, because I'll say, so they did some really grand thing. And I said, and how many points do you give yourself? And as you do, it's a lot. It's a lot. And they get more and more by the grander the gesture. And I said, I need to tell you the reality is you get one. You get one. No matter how big or how small. Please do big. If we like big, please do big. Just know you get 1 point. Just 1 point. So then you will stop getting discouraged, and you can figure out the return on the investment of the big thing, because you liked it too, and you liked that we looked so amazed. And then do the little things too, because we are like a strolling buffet. We leak a little now and a little later. Here's the other part about asking, do we like flowers? Yes. Okay, then flower every day for a couple of weeks. How fun is that? Or a different flower? Does she have a favorite flower? You really like doing things right. That's the thing about you guys. So the way that you find out what's right for us is to ask, and then watch. Did that work?
That's
Should I do that again?
Just to say that point, I want to say that point out loud, is that being a better lover is not always about being secrecy. It can actually be that simple as asking, because yes, she now knows what you want to do. It doesn't spoil the surprise in a way, because she's now looking forward to it, and it's even more exciting. And there's this thing about being the better lover where there's some level of surprise about it and being the things that are unexpected. But in some ways, being predictable can be a really sexy thing as well, because it's dependable, it's a trustable thing, and you know you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. So when my husband, I told him I really like having flowers in my house. And so after a date, or sometimes before a date, he would send me an arrangement. And one time, 4 dozen roses came in boxes to me. It was so astounding and overwhelming. So I didn't know that was going to happen, and I certainly didn't ask for that to happen. He had this open invitation, though, and this permission, so that there were always flowers in our home once we were married and living together. So it's not that you need to tell us everything about everything. Just find out enough that you know this is a safe gesture. Like, what kinds of things do you like? Do you have a certain kind of food that you like? Do you have activities you like? What I've told couples is individually make out a list of fun things that you would like to do, you in your head, and then compare them. And then you can take turns. You pick something from his list and he picks something from your list, because at least you know they already like it. And then you get to make maybe some additional plans and arrangements around it, because we like being wooed. We like feeling pursued. We really like when you make this effort. And even though most women don't understand how important effort is to you guys, you really watch, what am I going to get back from doing this effort? I wish women were better at it, because we exhaust ourselves all the time because we don't pay attention to that. You really look at the return on investment for everything. So when we've said, I'd really like that, you're like, well, I could do that. I could arrange that, and I'll figure out a way to do it, and I'll make the plans, and she'll go, yay. And then I get back. I got the benefits of planning, and I got the big benefit of, that was really fun, made me really happy, made me want to kiss you a whole bunch.
And that's the reason why.
It's the carrot I dangle.
Yeah. No, so the thing. Go ahead. After you.
So when you are working into a relationship with a woman, it's very important to just keep asking. You know, what kind of stuff do you do with your friends? What kind of stuff have you not liked? Somebody did something for you and you just hated it. Really, it's just as important to hear that and to understand. It's really what we will tell you the truth about it. We will say, yeah, this is what I liked about it, and this is what I didn't like about it, so that you now have a great filing in your head about what to do for us.
It's
That's
really
so excited my earring fell off.
Is that what it was? I wonder what it was going to say. Yeah. No. No, the thing I want to say to that is it doesn't sound that sexy what we're talking about. But the truth is, it actually is much sexier, because I think the way we've been lied to by so many movies about romance and things that look so amazing, But to replicate in real life, we don't have a stunt team. We don't have a director and a cinematographer and all the other things we need to make it look like that. So don't try to compete. Being a better lover isn't an Olympic sport. There we go. That's what I want to say. It's really about how we are with our partners, and to have the ability to be spacious enough to be negotiable, to be able to rearrange and to shift gears and change things around, means that we can still be there with our partner. And so if something goes awry, it doesn't knock us off our game. It doesn't take us off the map, so to speak. Because the challenge a lot of times people have is they have this, men have, let me qualify that, is we have this straight line of what we want to focus on. We want to go through steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get the result. The challenge is, though, that life doesn't always work that way, and our partner isn't always going to be there that way. So part of this conversation is about how do we as men have options and ability to move around so we can be in sync with our partners, but not in a straight line, so that we can have more intimacy, but also have more alignment with our partners.
So what I'm going to say about the movies is they have really good writers, and they have retakes, and they have good lighting. And so real life doesn't look like that ever.
No.
And I like spontaneity. I will say out loud that I like planned spontaneity for me personally. I like knowing that all my ducks are in a row, my bills are paid, and then I can go off and dash and do something. But I have learned so much about who I am to say, here's the kind of spontaneous stuff I like. You're welcome to do any of that. I'm happy to do any of that. I'm happy to get surprised in these ways. So you can be spontaneous and know that you're going to be successful, because I have said, if you do these things and pick any of them, you don't have to tell me any of it ahead of time. I'll be happy if you do any of these things kind of this way, and then have some latitude. So ask, because some people like to be completely surprised. I am way too controlled for that. But if they like being completely surprised, then go for it and see how it works, right?
Absolutely. And frankly, this is one of the biggest pieces. Again, it's like, how do we play in this dance with our partners? And I love the idea that it's easier, not harder. That with simple understanding, we can actually have a great time, and both partners can have a joyfully successful, fulfilling experience with each other by doing the simple things, not the hard things. Because a lot of times, I think for us men, we feel like we're going to set the bar so high that it's almost impossible to meet. And then we feel like we failed. And then our partner doesn't like what we're doing because we don't like it either. And we end up coming out suffering. So to simplify things in a way that is logical in this conversation, usable, and that she wants to have, it's like this is putting in all the wins is putting all the checks in the win column, not the loss column,
And how we generally are affected as women emotionally is when we like you, when we're happy with you, with what you're saying or you're doing, we move closer. We physically and emotionally want to be closer. And when you're doing stuff that pisses us off and annoys us and we feel uncared about and we physically and emotionally back up. And that means I've only now met 2 women who have sex when they're mad, but the rest of us generally do not have sex when we're mad. So if your goal is to eventually, hopefully, because that's a lot about what this is about, want to get naked and in bed with us and make us great noises and our eyes roll back, you need to keep not pissing us off. And so figuring out how to not piss us off is a really good goal, right?
And we'll talk about that after the break. So you want to talk about how we can get in touch with you and I before we get to that point?
Sure, thanks, Barry. So if you'd like to talk to me about this very fun subject, the easiest way is to go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Scroll to the middle of the screen and click on the What's Holding You Back from Love questionnaire. There's 10 brief questions about where you are and where you would like to be. And then you have access to my calendar to make a complimentary conversation. Schedule it with me. You can also send me a personal private email to Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And how do they get a hold of you, Barry?
Similar to Christine, I have a website with a way to get in touch with me. So you go to my website, is barryselby.com. And on my website, there is a button or a clickable link on the top of the screen that takes you to my calendar. And if you say, click on the Let's Chat button on my calendar, on that page, you can look at my calendar and find a time that works for you. You fill out the questionnaire that I have, it's a little different from Christine's, but in a similar vein. And we talk about anything else about relationship, whether it's about the sex part or about getting dates or anything in between. So you get on my calendar, it's a complimentary conversation to me and you, and we can go from there. And you can also send me a direct email at barry@barryselby.com.
And we're going to talk more about how to be a better lover and certainly about sex when we come back after this commercial from the station that produces our podcast. Be right back.
See you in a second.
And we're back with Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. And today we're talking about how to be a better lover.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. A subject we definitely need to talk about quite often, I think.
Certainly one of our favorites, right, to talk about with our audience and our clients. So in the first half of before the commercial, we talked a lot about how to feel more comfortable and confident getting to bed with somebody, how to warm us up, how to have us feel cared about. And, you know, I'd love to hear Barry say, is there anything you guys want ahead of time? Because there's so much we women want ahead of time. Is there something you want ahead of time? What would you like?
I don't know. Something I'm just thinking. I can make a list up, I'm sure, but the reality is, it's frankly, and because the question comes up in my mind about if it's the first time or 17th time sort of thing with our partners. If it's the first time, wanting to know that we're doing okay doesn't hurt by any means whatsoever. And honestly, not just saying it to make us feel better, but telling us the truth, so we can be encouraged, basically. Because frankly, for us, oftentimes we think we know what we're doing, but like you said before the break, every woman's different, and so is every man. So one of the challenges can be sometimes when we get to that point, she may feel uncertain because a previous partner she had or previous partners she had didn't treat her a certain way. This partner may do differently. So having that place of trust between both sides, not just about she trusts him, but he trusts her as well, can make it a much more conducive environment. So one of the biggest things is being encouraged for us to know we're doing okay, because maybe it's just me, but I know from my past experience, women I've been with have had some challenging relationships that I'm not the same as. So I have to climb over a certain hurdle to show that I'm not who they were, sort of thing, you know?
Boy, that is really a challenge. We would like to not be judged so much on past relationships, but it's almost impossible. So that's the thing about, if we could each say, this is what I've learned from my past relationships that I like and I would prefer. I prefer being asked out 3 days ahead of time. I prefer, a text every other day. I prefer saying, that was really great, or gosh, I like that, but would you do it differently, as you're getting to know each other, so that both people are learning you can say what you want and need, and you get reassured when you're doing the right thing. Because boy, once you get naked, if you don't know how to do that, either of those things, it's not nearly as much fun.
No, far from it. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go down the road more at that moment. But one thing I was going to say, sorry after you. Well, the thing about it also, how to be a better lover is not just the act of making love. It's also, as you said before the break, before you get to that point, but also after that point. Because there's a piece, maybe we should do the sequences, I'll get to that a bit later. Let's continue in the process of being in there. Because I was going to talk a whole thing about what you do afterwards, and we're not there yet.
Yeah, we'll wrap that up for sure.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that movies have led us to believe, that men just know somehow magically what to do with every single woman, and that every single woman wants the same thing the same way, and that women think if they don't act like the movies, there's something wrong with them.
Right.
So my suggestion always is to explore your own body. Figure out how you like being touched. If there's ways you don't like being touched, if there's better times of the day for you, or better times during the month, or if it's a really stressful time and that doesn't work for you, or you need even more when it's a stressful time, to first get really in touch with your body about what kind of physical touch you like. Yeah. Do you like slow? Do you like fast? Do you like more firm being held? Do you like more gentle touch? So that you can then say to the person, I like this. Would you do this first? This is the first thing I really like. And oh my gosh, I think both men and women seem to be just as equally uncomfortable about saying what they'd really like, really asking for it. And they both really want to know, though. I mean, that's the really sad thing. Don't you think we equally want to know if we're doing a good job and if they're liking it? And but how do we know if they don't tell us ahead of time? And then, yeah, that was good, or could you do it a little different? Oh, it's
This
so
is
much lack of communication.
yeah, this is the challenge. I think a lot of people think we've got to be mind readers and we've got to know intuitively what's right and what's wrong. One of the biggest things that I think we miss is the ability to talk to each other. There's something about when we get naked, we can't talk. There's like a rule or something in the society. I don't know what it is, but the truth is, when we are naked with each other, it's okay to say, you know, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what works for me. Being that when it's communicate, it is a vulnerable thing to do. Maybe even more vulnerable than being naked is to speak what's going on for you. But yet at the same time, being a better lover, for me, feels like being able to be totally transparent and naked with it, which means also being vulnerable as well. And communication is one of those things because, frankly, I mean, we started the show talking about laughing and joking around that idea. Sometimes the best lovemaking can be wrapped up in joyful laughter and play, which means having communication is a good thing. So being able to speak to those parts about what does work, what doesn't work, maybe even talk about your history, what happened last time didn't work out so well for me, so we can do something different. It can be such a sense of permission being given for both partners. So communication absolutely in the process of having that lovemaking experience is a good thing.
For sure. And certainly, the whole first part of our conversation today was just talking to each other about, what kind of dates you like, what kind of commitments you like, how to handle it when something needs to change. Because if you've exercised that muscle personally and with each other, it gives you a little more latitude when you have more of a challenge when you're naked with each other. And then the other thing I tell people is, hopefully you're having a conversation earlier about, I think I'd wanna, do you wanna? Yeah. Do we just want to be with each other, be monogamous? I think we should have blood tests. I'm a big believer in that. Go to your separate places, come back and show your results. And while you're doing all of that, you go, well, this is what I've liked in the past, and I think I'd like that again, so that you have a conversation about how you like your body to be treated before you're naked, because at least now you have a little bit of a roadmap with each other. And men have had really interesting things to tell me when I've asked them, because so many times they've said nobody's ever asked me before, but right. I want to know. And I'm happy to just go on a scavenger hunt because you guys are a little more obvious, but I still want to know, is there something that you like better or something that you'd like me to do differently? I love taking requests. And so it feels more fair and even, because we women are so into fair and even, like we want to split down to the penny when we go out to lunch with each other. You guys just, I hated being a waitress with that, a table full. You guys would just throw money on the table. So when we want to talk about, hear all your details, please tell us. Generally, we kind of like it.
Yeah, it again, I mean, we're making this point pedantically. It's like, yes, communication is key in this whole conversation. There's also something you said that inspired something for me too, is that there's a joy in the discovery process of exploring, understanding, and learning about each other. Yeah. And sometimes I know in relationships past in myself, I know when I talked to my girlfriend before we got to that point of monogamy and having sex together, there were things that we talked about that felt really weird. It's like, we want to use condoms or not, or we want to do other things. It's like, no, the thing is, the more we can bring that up, the more we can take the onus off them, so they're not such a hot topic to think about. Because the other part as well with having these wonderful times being together in bed is that we remove the stigma from it. We remove the assumptions about it, so we can actually be clean and present. And the piece of underneath that is, yes, we have a sort of a roadmap, as you mentioned. But the thing is, this is not to say it's always this way. The main thing is we build a foundation, we build trust, and we build a framework from which we can build and create from that. So when we have relationships that we want to have long term, those initial steps are just basically the base on which you can build other things. So therefore, what you can do next time, and then you start having more opportunities, more kink, more strangeness, more fun, more whatever it is, because you now trust each other because you've had that foundation built in the first place. So you don't necessarily jump into the full extremes unless that's the way you're wired, but you build there from where you start.
Boy, that is so important, to just get as prepared as you can, that when you ask a question, that no matter what the answer is, you're going to go, okay. Not that you have to, okay, do it, but okay, thanks for telling me. wow, that's more I got to learn about you. And then how do I feel about that? Because it takes 2 yeses every time. But to really be, I'm going to be okay with whatever they say. I just don't necessarily have to do it. Certainly not right now, maybe later. Because the people I know that have had very long, happy marriages with very active sex lives have had ongoing, not, like every year or 6 months, I'd like to try something new. What do you think? And so how nice if you've already got a foundation that you're like, gosh, I read about this or heard about this or saw this. And what do you think? I think it might be fun. Because if you haven't had that in the beginning, how are you ever going to bring it up later? And the other thing I just have to say in the middle of this is, please, ladies, never fake. Never fake. We don't have to have an orgasm every time. We really don't. I've never seen a rule. I've really never seen a rule. And there's times you can just feel so terrific and the big, huge release was not necessary. It's really okay. So don't fake. Please don't fake. That if you've done this ahead of time, had the conversations about what I like to just when you're dating me and as we're getting closer and making out and touching places on top of the clothes. I like this. I don't like this. To then say, do this. This is generally what happens. Not maybe I need to get involved because I know more what to do. Guys, don't take that personally. That's really important to not take that personally. I have guys that are like, yeah, have at it. I'm happy to watch. I've had clients tell me that, which is really fun. Or a toy, so that if you really do need an orgasm, that you now have a means without letting the guy know it's not working. You're too tense, or you've got too much on your mind, or you're mad at him and you haven't told him. That you need to say, I can't do it that way right now, but let's do this. Yeah. I know it's really scary and vulnerable. I know it's really hard. And then certainly we have to talk about guys with ED, because it's certainly we're in the age group of that. And, it might be the very first time ever in your whole life. And it might be just because you were so damn excited. Maybe you came earlier, or just, there's just too much. Oh my God, this is so important. It's really important to know that you are with a woman that goes, okay, because we want to take it personally. We do. I know this for a fact. I've learned that it's not at all. And I keep teaching that it's not at all. So if both of you can have grace for yourselves and grace for each other when these very real things happen, because of our bodies, whatever's happening in our body, no matter what we really want, it might not just come to fruition this time.
Right. On that same note, something you said in the middle of that, and I agree with everything you said. There is a part of us, of course, that has this drive, because the whole thing about women faking orgasms, I think, came out of the idea is that men didn't want to fail. And we had this sense that if we didn't bring it to orgasm, we failed. And so we have this built-in goal accomplishment strategy built into us, hardwired for men almost, that when we have sex with a woman, even though some men just want to come themselves, they don't care about the woman anyways, that's another conversation, but for a caring partner, he wants her to come. So if she's in a place where that's not going to happen, or it's not on the level what it's going to be, please, ladies, tell him so that he doesn't have to. Yes, he can still have sex the way whatever works, but it's not done where he's got to prove something to you, because he's actually trying to prove something to himself, and you're not playing that level with him. There's a different communication going on. So having the willingness to communicate all the way through the relationship, from first date through sex and all beyond that, is such a key component, so that there's understanding, there's compassion, there's not going to be judgments and blame and frustration and upset and all these other things that happen, because both partners can carry that level of shame inside themselves for something that wasn't necessarily shameful. So communicate so you don't have to carry that weight.
Because as Barry, as I said, we've said in a number of our podcasts, not only is it intimacy that you're having sex, and I learned with my late husband the big difference between having sex and making love. Oh my gosh, I will never not do making love again, because it was so different. I had no idea. But the into me see, how are you willing to be mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually totally vulnerable with this person? Because if you can't, then why are you sharing your body with them? Why? That is the biggest question I have had to ask myself through my whole adult life, and ask my clients as well, because Yeah, maybe you just want to have a friends with benefits. That's really not, we're necessarily talking about that, but sure. If you, and you have somebody that can get you off every time, yay. And that's enough. But for what I'm talking about, the kind of lover that I need and want in my life is somebody that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And we need to have this foundation that we both feel totally safe, no matter what's going on, that we can, in and out of bed, that we can say to the other person, this is what's happening and I can't, or could you do it this way? Or I'm just going to have to, or it's not going to happen. Would you just hold me? And it's not you, it's me right now. And because we women it's hard for us to get out of our heads. Well, I have my things that I do, and I tell people, find your things that'll help you get out of your head, get back in your body, but to not take it personally if you've had a good communication with each other.
Yeah. And this is the hardest part in a way, because there's a certain level of wanting to take things personally because we want to think we've done it right and we're doing everything else. So to disengage from that is sometimes the hardest thing of all. And the understanding about how this relationship can grow through this journey, good, bad, or indifferent, is part of the process of what we're doing here. There was another piece in there which will come back to me in a second, I hope. It's gone, it'll come back, right? We'll stick into, because some of you said, like, gave me thinking, and I was just going, oh, here it is. Yes, I knew it was in there. This is a little practice for you and your partner. If it's a new partner or it's a partner you've been with for a while, it's actually it's supposed to be tantric, but it's not necessarily from tantra itself. But it's a simple practice, because there's a tendency sometimes to rush into the idea of jumping into bed and stripping each other clothes off and going in. Two things, one of which I talked about before, but I wanted to mention that again. But the first thing I'll talk about is they call it eye gazing, but basically what it is, it syncs you together breathing. So you can do it fully clothed, or you can do it naked, it's up to you. But frankly, if you do it fully clothed, it can be more fun because you're not distracted by your bodies. But basically, generally you sit so your legs are overlapping each other, face to face, almost nose to nose, and you breathe in sync, looking in each other's eyes. Because when you do that, first of all, it stops your mind going crazy. And secondly, it allows you to get in sync. So a simple process that brings you to a place together, so then you can be more present together. And that can also help set things up right. The second thing, which I talked about before, which one of my teachers taught me about, the way we catch our energy, because we talked earlier about if you're distracted by the day and you're carrying all the crap from the day with you, it's like how to shed it. The eye gazing is a good way of doing that. The second piece, though, is that because, and we talked about masculine and feminine polarity before in other sessions, I mentioned this, and I've shared it on other episodes, but basically when a man and woman come together, a ritual they can do as well is if they want to start the session of sex together, of making love together, with having each person, the partners, take their energy, and I mean in a specific way. Basically, if a woman has been busy doing stuff in the way, getting things done, and she's been in a masculine most of the day, she wants to be in a feminine, ideally, when she goes to the bedroom. So one thing she can do with her partner as a ritual is to, in her internal space, imagine she's gathering up all the masculine energies used up that day into a care package she gives to a male partner. Then he does the same thing with all the feminine energy he's been carrying around all day, doing different things with whatever it's been. But it's like he wants to get back into his masculine to be with her. So he gathers up all of his feminine energy he's been using all during the day into a little care package, give it to her for safekeeping. What it does energetically is move the partners into their polar opposites in the masculine feminine polarity, and it creates more connection in the bedroom. So those two practices can be game changers for your relationships. So just something to play with.
Love that a lot. And in addition, taking a shower together ahead of time.
Oh yeah, that can be good too.
Because you can exchange and then send the part you don't want down the drain.
True. And also it gets to be cleaner.
That's true. And everything's better when you're clean. But I love the gifts. I am so going to remember that. I've never heard it put that way, and I love it so much. I always take things away from you, Barry, from what you're talk about. So, boy, if this is sparked your interest and you're like, I want to talk more about this because I want to become a better lover, or I'd like to discuss this with the person in my life and how to help them be a better lover for me. Either conversation, Barry and I'd be happy to have with you. So the best way to get a hold of me is to go to my website, www.theperfectcatch.com, click on the questionnaire in the middle, schedule a complimentary conversation with me, or send me an email at christina@theperfectcatch.com. And when you're on that homepage of my website, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see all my social media icons that you can click on: Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram and YouTube, where you can see all the replays of all of our wonderful podcasts. You can also download my ebook from the top. It says ebook. All I ask is it's free, and you can just give me a review of what you think. You can also join my mailing list. You'll get a replay of my podcast every week with Sharon's great artwork and also the things that are going on in my life. And Barry, tell people how to get a hold of you, please.
Similarly, yes. As I mentioned in the break, I've got a website you can go to, which is barryselby.com. I mentioned at the top of the screen is a link to get on my calendar and have a conversation with me too. But there's two other things on the homepage I recommend. At the bottom of the homepage of my website is the option to jump in and be part of my email list. I also send out replays of the show, new offerings, other things I'm doing. So if you join my email list, you'll be up to date on what's happening in my world and how it can impact your world. In the middle of the screen is one of my two quizzes. I have two assessments that I created. One is a relationship readiness assessment, which is the one on the homepage right in the middle of the screen. It basically puts you in the perspective of seeing whether or not you're ready for a relationship or not. And you answer the questions, and you get an email which explains everything for you after you take it. And you go directly to, if you want to, go to barryselby.com/quiz, or just say the button in the middle of the screen. There's another quiz which is hidden, so to speak, secret quiz, which is my self-relationship assessment, because a lot of my work is with the relationship with self. So I created a self-relationship assessment, which is barryselby.com/self-quiz. And this quiz is 30-something questions that basically cover 7 different areas of your life about how you relate to yourself. And frankly, if you're on your own, if you're single right now, even if you're in a relationship, this quiz will give you some real clear guidance of what is working, what isn't working, and where you can improve. When you do the quiz, you'll get a downloadable PDF with explaining next steps, guidance, things you can take with you. So just take the quiz. It's a nice little ebook you'll get to work with after that. Speaking of books, also on my website is my best-selling book, which Christine mentioned earlier, although it's not necessarily about sex, but it's about relationships, called 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. But that page also has on now a AI-generated interview between two professional sounding voices that talk about my book in a very detailed way. So if you haven't read my book yet and you want to find out more about it, click on the audio at the top of that the book page, and it will have a 12-minute conversation where they really go in pretty deep on how my book works. So you'll see if you want to get the book or not. Then down at the bottom of the screen, you can buy my book from there. Social media-wise, you can see me on all the platforms. I'm under my name, Barry Selby, on YouTube, where all my videos are, including replays of the show. Also, it's Barry Selby on YouTube. It's on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Blue Sky. And then it's on Instagram and Threads. It's the real Barry Selby, because I've changed my account. I think that's everything.
So every week we're here live at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern. So you can watch us live and you can ask us any questions on the air, and we're happy to answer them. And then if you want to watch us on our replays, you can watch us on Roku or on YouTube on any of your devices, including your television. But if you want to take us with you, we're very portable, right, Barry?
Yes, because sometimes you'll be out in the world and you haven't got time to look at a screen, but you want to listen to us, because we do, in fact, have a podcast version of this show. It's been going quite a long time as well. So you can listen to this show and all the other ones on your favorite app, on your favorite podcast platforms, whether it's Apple, Spotify, or even I think Amazon Podcasts. So you can take us with you wherever you're going. And frankly, you can really learn how to be a better partner. Listen to our show. So take us with you.
Yes. And we'd love it for you to share with your friends who are having challenges with their dating and relationships. Like us and give us reviews on either the audio or the video. And join us next week when we have another interesting subject about dating and relationships.
We'll see you then. Take care.
For now.